We intend to give guidelines in certain key areas. We will not give details on our program because when the program is known in detail, they will anticipate and pose obstacles on our roads and prevent us from achieving our objectives. But we can summarize in a few words. Talking about the field of defense and security, as you see, we have opted for combat. And for that, we have almost doubled the number in our armed forces. We continue to recruit. And I think that recently recruitments have been launched on the non-commissioned officer side. And soon, in a few days, recruitment for at least 10,000 soldiers should be launched. We will continue to strengthen the workforce to cope, because despite the recruitment that has been done, there is still a need for military presence everywhere in Burkina Faso. Certain villages continue to want the military presence, so there is reason to continue to recruit and equip. Since January 2023, we have been on this path. We were able to launch an equipment program. It's true that the world is crazy. There is war everywhere, and no nation takes its equipment and sells it or manufactures it for you, which meant that this equipment dragged on for almost 18 months. But the first have started to come, and the equipment will continue to come because we want the level of our army to reach an unprecedented level in the sub-region. This equipment program will continue, and you are the actors of this program because, since we have been fighting, I can tell you that supposedly friends of Birkina who have been there for a long time know our riches. Even a single Kalashnikov cartridge we have not received from anyone to fight our fight. It is you who pay, and we will continue to stand as one with our people to be able to lead this fight. We have partners who have agreed to sell us equipment and who even offered to deliver strategic equipment to us, which we can pay on time. We thank them for this gesture and say thank you again to the people who understood the meaning of the fight that we must fight. If we do not fight, they will come and look for us at our house, like in a hen house or in a sheepfold every morning. They will choose who they want to execute in the public square to scare others, going as far as cutting off hands or feet in the public square. That's their tactic. We are going to fight, and we will give ourselves the means to get there. If it happens that we are stuck in a certain way, we will come again to the people and ask for even more sacrifice to be able to achieve the objective. Despite your contributions, certain powers have refused to sell us the equipment, blocking the equipment that we bought in certain countries because they have the license for certain components. These powers exploit minerals in Burkina Faso. I said it here with great effort and solemnity. It will stop. We are going to withdraw permits for exploitation. We are not going to allow this. You cannot exploit our resources and refuse to sell us equipment or block our equipment. We are not going to accept that. They expect us to get our operating permits back and exploit the resources ourselves. Returning to conclude on the defense aspect, we are not going to dwell too much on that, but know that everything that has already happened. The men are in training on this other equipment will come, and we are going to lead this war. Many strategies have already been written, and we adapt them gradually to the behavior of the enemy. We will defeat this terrorism very soon here in Burkina and even beyond. Regarding the areas of public service, for a long time we spent the time warning a certain number of actors. But we understood that the phenomenon is so deep. Corruption, bad governance in the different administrations, and the lack of ethics persists. Certain bodies were therefore set up as part of the fight against corruption, and recently certain orders were taken for this, including denunciation bonuses. The last act to be taken will be done before the end of this month. It is a body which will have to sit in all the ministries to seize certain dysfunctions and acts of corruption and be able to act. These bodies will be ready because we also have a lot of hard workers in the administration who are put in the shadows, often sidelined because for a long time it is the most corrupt and dishonest who have been brought to the light. They are the ones who benefit from all the advantages. I tell the workers to be careful of these individuals who are losing their privilege because they will continue to manipulate you. Pay very close attention to these individuals who are losing their privilege because we are not going to allow a so-called elite who had been programmed to arrogate to themselves all the rights in our various administrations. The last organ will be in place before the end of this month, and the real work will begin. You will hear it said almost everywhere at the end of this that we do not respect certain texts, we do not respect certain laws. But there are no laws or texts which stand in this struggle when it is for the interest of the homeland that it is yours to say so. We are going to go in this sense. We therefore have, in the process of recruitment, adopted a course of action. We are in the process of making a diagnosis to check attendance and to see the needs. It is not excluded that during the year certain competitions will be launched to increase effectiveness in certain places. There was certainly first a wave of competitions which was launched, but in all circles they are in the process of taking stock. If there is a need, we will continue to recruit to be at an acceptable level and be able to operate the different organs of the country to the happiness of the popular masses. In the areas of diplomacy, we have opted for common diplomacy. All decisions regarding partners, whether African or abroad, will be taken unanimously within the ES. But we also opted for a diplomacy of truth. We do not intend to put ourselves in certain logic to lie or cover up reality as it is. Diplomacy, it's false. That's not it. Diplomacy, I can tell you that what you see in superstructure when people come to audience and come out to speak on the microphone is only a visible part of the berg. What happened inside in the closed hours has nothing to do with diplomacy. And we are therefore part of this logic of saying clearly things to the people. Some will criticize. Others will even say that a head of state must not speak like that. A head of state must not do that. But we tell them that maybe these people who criticize in this way when we tell the truth, maybe they have a school where they learn to be head of state. How the head of state must be, otherwise I haven't seen this school. And why must we necessarily resemble others, do like others? We want to create our model, our identity, and I think that Burkina by definition is the land of integrity. We want the truth, and when the truth comes out, even if we have made a mistake, we must have the courage to come and tell you on this side we have made a mistake. We ask for forgiveness. If you forgive us, you forgive us, but we don't want to register anymore in this lying diplomacy. We hope that everyone is an actor in the emergence of Burkina Faso through their way of communicating, because everything is found in communication. Also, you have recently followed the communication war which has been drawn up against us, and it continues. It's not going to stop. I hope that all those who are in communication can be professional. When we want to perform a communicative act, we must ask the question, is it for the homeland or against the homeland before taking the act? You can dislike me, my person, but you must love your country. By hurting me, you shouldn't confuse the country with politics. In the field of communication, we will have to go into this, and we will be obliged to reframe the communication on all aspects. This is the course of action which will be adopted. We are not going to allow Burkinabe people to communicate against Burkina Faso. We will always be part of the awakening of consciences. We must be able to raise awareness among the popular masses so that people understand why we must fight on all aspects. Regarding agriculture, as you can see, we have launched initiatives since 2023, and this year the offensive has been launched. It is going more or less well. I would like people to understand that we have decided to devote a large part of our budget and our time to the agricultural world, because more than 90% of our population is peasant. But for decades, they never had the interest of their public, and this is why we decided to undertake a certain number of action initiatives. We would like to be able to plow all the fields of all the farmers of Burkina Faso, give them the seeds they need, and allow them to have the necessary inputs at subsidized costs to help us in the fight against food insecurity and achieve food self-sufficiency. In this same sense, we recently created the National Office for the Development of Hydro-Agricultural Dams. We are going to equip it because all our witnesses in your different regions that we have retained a lot from many dams, but which are silted up, which are blocked, and we have the possibility of making other dams. We are in the process of paying for equipment for this office so that it can be deployed in the territory and, with the contribution of the populations, be able to build. We will continue this fight until we achieve food sufficiency and our populations can eat to their fill. In the areas of infrastructure, we have a crucial lack of roads. By doing the analysis, we have found very old studies for some routes, and for others, there are no studies. We cannot build a road without having studies. Studies are preliminary. That's why, in this sector, we ordered the ministry to do a lot of studies on many sections which will allow us in the future to be able to launch work and do it well, so that it is sustainable on many sections. We noticed that the costs for asphalting 1 kilometer of section are around 500 million francs. So, for 100 kilometers with the sanitation works, We have no less than 60 billion to make 100 kilometers of asphalt road. It is very expensive and very costly. The technique was to create intervention brigades and equip several brigades with equipment to do the minimum, allowing companies in the construction sector to live and do their part. We are going to divide the work to reduce expenses and do the maximum possible routes in a lapse of time. This has already started, and we will continue over these 5 years in this process, so that in all regions we can combine the maximum of the capital of the province. And that we can sell our goods, and that people can travel. In the field of town planning, we are in the process of redesigning our cities. If you notice, the cities are too big. If I take Ouagadougou, the sanitation and other infrastructures do not follow. This means we're stuck in the mud, and we don't have enough sanitation, which creates a lot of problems and diseases that can lead to epidemics. We have a plan to concentrate the cities through constructions at height. We have established a plan to start with one neighborhood, concentrate the maximum, and then extend to other neighborhoods. Certainly, if people are displaced in these neighborhoods, a lot of land will become free so that we can draw good plans for our cities. We will start with a certain number of cities first and extend it to all other cities. Urban planning must lead us to play on the health aspect. Because if urbanization is done well, there are a good number of diseases that will be mitigated, such as cholera and other diseases linked to dirty water which stagnates in our streets. This will lead to a good result in the health field. Regarding health, we decided to enhance the technical platform of a certain number of hospitals, equipping certain centers with scanners and devices which can allow citizens to have adequate examinations at a lower cost. We launched the Presidential Initiative on Health at the past Council of Ministers. It will be a question of creating municipal health centers, integrating a minimum of services to be served to the population, including imaging, ultrasound and radiography, blood banks and laboratories. This will ensure that the populations of different provinces and municipalities, some of which do not have enough travel or need an ambulance for a blood transfusion, can receive proper medical care. The initiative has already been launched, and we will ensure that we can begin the construction of the first centers and their equipment before the end of the year. We will continue gradually within our means to provide a strong health system for all our populations. We do not want to see someone leave their locality to come to a regional hospital for an X-ray or a blood transfusion. This is very possible, and I return again to our imperialists who plundered us. For a long time, their simple hospitals for animals are more equipped than our health centers. This is not conceivable. We can reach this level, and we have decided to fight to reach this level. The ministry was also instructed to train the personnel necessary to equip these centers as we put them in place, because it requires committed professionals. We noticed that we have quite skilled doctors, taking the example of those who operate on the heart. We are supporting them to have a sufficiently equipped institute and allow certain heart surgeries to be carried out on site because they have the capacity. It's the equipment they lack. We are waiting for their situation update to be able to help them and support many other specialties that have proven themselves. We will do everything to support them in this sense. Resuscitation centers are also planned in certain CARs that do not have them, because we have been told that after several operations, patients often die due to lack of a resuscitation center. So, it is a complete package that we are implementing to be able to strengthen the health system, and we are convinced that if the Burkinabés eat well and urbanization is done well, we have already gained in terms of health on many levels. We must now support it with the equipment in the field of education. We have made the diagnosis, and as you know, our comrade students are there. They will not say the opposite. How to leave these clashes of the year? How to redo the system? Well, we reached a conclusion. We have launched the initiative also for quality education. It will integrate all aspects of the nursery up to the university. The first buildings will therefore also have to grow before the end of the year. We opted for high construction to bring together the maximum number of students on given areas to allow in-depth and judicious control of teaching. Because teaching, in the end, we will have to have complexes in most of our municipalities, which go from nursery to secondary school. And the university centers must see their capacity increase too. When today we take our 3 classrooms, which are built almost everywhere, the rainy season has started, and the bad weather again came to show us that this is the good option. That is why we no longer want to make these isolated centers with small houses of 3 rooms. And we are going to move on to building at height, to have the maximum of students in a given space and the consequent supervision. For quality education, many other things will be initiated from primary school. We are going to return to certain fundamentals of discipline and to embody and therefore establish a certain number of values to be instilled in the youngest from primary school so that they are good citizens of tomorrow. There would therefore be a start of military training, if I can say it like that. Civic and patriotic at all small, to be able to continue in the high schools. The national program for the SND level is in the process of mutating. The text had come to the council. We sent it back with amendments so that the workers who are currently active can also go to this center to have military training. And that faces organizing in turns over very precise periods. Everything is a question of discipline. Because by excellence, military training must be able to discipline people. So, we are going to instill a certain number of values at the level of our education. Therefore, returning to the university center also before the end of the year. We will begin the construction of a certain number of amphitheaters. Later, when resources allow, we will leave on the aspect of restoration and also of the cities at the level of the different university centers. But we will start with the amphitheaters to allow it to have a place to work, so that the gap that there is in terms of years which overlap could be reduced considerably. We made a budgetary, which must therefore pass to the Assembly that month, in order to be able to initiate all these operations. What does this mean? We have reduced the operating expenses of the administration to be able to inject elsewhere, particularly in education and in health. This program is ready. It has been launched. In the days to come, you will be part of the evolution of everything we are telling you, and we will continue this plan throughout these 60 months which have been dedicated to us. Therefore, returning to the field of mines, as I said earlier, we have adopted a new policy. Burkina is full of many kinds of minerals, but there is still a mineral for which there is a secret for the Burkinabes, and I am going to greet them. Our very courageous gold prospectors who arrive at the depths of our earth to bring out this mineral. There we said to ourselves, why continue to let foreign multinationals come to mine our gold while we know how to exploit it ourselves? That is why we ordered the ministry to reorganize the gold miners, and the government will take action against the exploitation of gold. Several permits, as I said, will be withdrawn from certain people, and we will exploit it ourselves. We will equip ourselves with a machine to do it, but even if we can't manage to equip our workers in a consistent manner, they have demonstrated their courage and self-sacrifice. We are going to dig our gold ourselves, and that will be for us in Burkina. Here for the other substances, where we cannot, and of course our sincere partners who accept to accompany us in this fight. It is to them alone that we will be able to grant certain permits, because they have agreed to accompany us in the fight for our sovereignty and the fight against terrorism. We have dictated a new mining code which is currently in the Assembly, and I hope it will be voted on next week to impose a new model on the various companies that will come to exploit gold here so that the maximum profit is for the state. In the energy aspect, as you have noticed, we have serious problems. The increase in the population has not been followed by an energy policy. Today, when the heat peaks arrive, there are permanent power cuts. Many activities are suffering. We are in discussions with partners who are currently in Birkina to urgently build very large capacity thermal power plants. We want to see with them how we can reduce construction times. The discussions are currently focusing on the reduction of construction times and the financial model that we are going to put in place. We hope to achieve this while waiting for our process, which may seem long, of the nuclear power plants to see the light of day. On this aspect, it is continuing very well. We are in the process of wanting to set up a unit on site here to train Burkinabes, who must take over and follow everything that is the construction process and take over the transfer of competence. It will take a scientific process so that in the future, when the power plant is there, it will be the exclusive property of the Burkinabe. Burkinabe engineers will be able to implement and maintain it. When the conclusions of the discussions with the partners for the thermal power plant see the light of day, we will make it available to you. If we need you, we will inform you to quickly implement this plan. Speaking in the area of the economy, which is very important to us, we are in the process of putting in place a process for the payment of the internal debt. We started a little bit with the smallest debts. The bills of less than 100 million have been paid, and we are continuing gradually. This should make it possible to relieve the private sector and revive the economy. Currently, we are going to quickly turn to the state.
Lorsque